so many of the people pushing back against like trans overreach are liberals. I mean, most of them are, arguably. I don't know. I mean, I don't. And again, like we are all in such bubbles that for you and me, it's impossible to imagine how somebody could have. In the culture wars, there are no winners, just podcasters. Only a few are willing to risk their lives in the face of some of the dumbest ideas to have ever captured human civilization. Every week, we, Megan Daum and Sarah Hayter, humbly accept this mission to bring you conversations that are equal parts stunning, brave, and not okay. Welcome to A Special Place in Hell. Sarah, you are looking very not okay this morning.
Yeah, I'm not okay.
Although not as not okay as I am because it's 7 a.m.
My hair's up, so that's how you know
your hair.
Okay.
Oh, up or down? Your hair's down.
It's up. It's up.
Oh God,
it's halfway up.
Your hair is so long that even when it's up, it's down.
Exactly.
All right. Well, we have a number of topics to discuss, and I guess we're going to start with not okay. We have a piece, New York Magazine,
our favorite.
I finally just broke down and paid. I mean, we really should. They should be paying us. They should be paying us.
But we get so much fodder.
But we discuss them so often.
It's like a third of the show, though. It's like
I know
it's mutual. It's mutual relationship.
They obviously know what they're doing. Yeah. So there's a cover story by Rebecca Traister, who's she's been a guest on the show. I don't know if she's a friend of the pod, but she's we're friends with her, but I don't know if she's friends with us. But she's been a guest on the podcast, and we had a great conversation with her a while back. She has a cover story about Republican women. How did Republican women end up like this? The baffling, contradictory demands of being female in the party of Donald Trump. So there was a headline, are Republican women okay? Mm-hmm. I don't know if that was a Twitter headline or something.
They often change them. That's what I noticed, is that they will lead with one, and then that's the one they share on Twitter, and then 2 hours later it's something else. I think they probably do like A/B testing, which one is performing, or if they're getting big time backlash for one, they might change it, but I think they probably just want the clicks. So they go with the one that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we should say writer does not write the headline. So not going to blame Rebecca for any titles. Mm-hmm. We should never do that. Okay. So this is, I mean, it's funny because from the Are Republican Women Okay headline that was floating around Twitter initially, I think people had the impression that the piece was about like all women who vote Republican, like what's wrong with them? How can they possibly be okay if they're doing that? In fact, it's just kind of an overview, or I should say a selected, it's nut picking. Let's just call it what it is. It's nut picking of some of the crazier women in the GOP right now, including people like Valentina Gomez, who we'll get to in a second. But so the piece opens up by saying, can you provide the definition for the word woman? Okay, that's a quote. Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn lobbied this query at Ketanji Brown Jackson during her 2022 Supreme Court confirmation hearings. Blackburn was doing her bit for her party's effort to enforce transphobic gender conformity, positioning herself as a defender of womanhood against something fixed and narrow. When Jackson declined to provide Blackburn with a definition, noting that she was not a biologist, the senator took the opportunity to dial it up a notch. The fact that you can't give me a straight answer about something as fundamental as what a woman is underscores the dangers of this kind of progressive education that we're talking about, Blackburn said with lip-smacking satisfaction. All right, well, that sounds like us on our show.
What is lip smacking satisfaction? Okay.
So let's just start with here. I really
so much.
I know.
So much
I mean, Rebecca is so smart and such a good reporter. So I just want to be really clear. We're talking about this piece in particular because she's written a lot of pieces in her life and a lot of books, and many have been quite good. But what do you think is going on in this piece?
Yeah. So the premise is that some of these women are super like butch, for lack of a better term. Like, what do you want to use? Butch?
I wouldn't call them butch.
We're gonna offend people.
No, they're badass. You know, they're very.
No, I want to say they're masculine because they are masculine. Like, that's what I want to say, but I don't know what kind of terminology would make sense here.
Like Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Kristi Noem.
I think she's pointing to that. I think that's the thing that Rebecca keeps going around and like in different ways, referring to the fact that they, you know, they are not necessarily always married, or they don't necessarily stay in their marriages. There's Marjorie Taylor Greene, who, you know, got divorced, I guess, maybe recently, I don't know. And, you know, they're kind of, they're badass women. They have main character energy. Who said that about themselves? I have main
character energy. Oh, is that different than like non-playable character?
Right. So it's you're a woman. Yeah, you're a woman and you're an NPC, or you have main character energy. This was Mace.
Nancy Mace.
Mace, who's 46 years old, Republican Congresswoman from South Carolina. And she says, so let me just quote it, because she said, there are traditional roles of women in society, some biological. We're meant to nurture. We're meant to breastfeed our kids. But my mom worked. I've worked my entire life since I was 15. It's a balance between what's your feminine side and what's your main character energy. Mace was explicit. I do have main character energy. I'm an alpha dog, and so is my little 6-pound dog, Libby.
Right. Well, this is right out of the Sarah Palin playbook,
so I think
right?
She's
like
pointing to the fact
hockey
that
and lipstick.
You know, they have this like kind of crass Donald Trump masculine vibe about them. They will, you know, they will say that other people who you know aren't don't have the same policies as them, or aren't as strong as they feel like they can be. They'll denigrate them by saying that they don't have balls. They're not, you know, they're weak men. And I think she's pointing to this kind of this way of speaking, this way of conceptualizing the world as weak and not weak. And, you know, men are strong, and or good men are strong, real men are strong. And then the contradiction of the fact that they themselves are not women who act like traditional women.
Yeah, but they act like, well, but I think it's more, see, I'm reading this more of like, they can bring home the bacon and fry it up in a pan kind of thing. So that's a very old reference from a commercial from the 70s, second wave feminist informed commercial.
But
that's
kind of feminist.
I don't see that as, but yeah, it's feminist, and that's the kind of thing that drives liberal feminists crazy. I mean, that's when Sarah Palin was like talking about, you know, the cracks in the glass ceiling, and I think that Sarah Palin was calling herself a feminist, if I recall. I mean, it absolutely made their heads explode, because like, oh no, this is not what we meant.
Yeah.
So I think but I wouldn't call it butch. I feel like what they are reacting to is a kind of like, you know, hairy armpitted feminist, even though that's like so outdated. I guess it would be like the green haired feminist. Yeah, it's a reaction, right?
So it's just a response.
Right. The idea is, we're hot, you know, we're tough, but we're hot. I mean, they don't really have short hair. Speaking of short hair discourse, they have long hair, but you know, they're super buff.
Okay, let's talk about this, because in the piece itself, the header image has all these like Republican women who, you know, on the left, who are older, like I think Barbara Bush.
That's Barbara Bush.
Like
that Susan Collins is one of them there. Oh, Elizabeth Dole, Barbara Bush, and Kay Bailey Hutchinson.
I don't know these women, but yeah, they're on the left, and then you see like these new Republican women who Rebecca profiles in the piece, and you can just see visually how different they are. The older women are wearing, you know, they're wearing kind of these stuffy suits, you know, these
the matronly
conservative matronly dress. They have shorter hair. It doesn't, I mean, but to me, it's what the distinction there is just, this is how liberal women have changed, and so conservative women are responding to that.
Also, they're totally different generations. I mean, Barbara Bush, what? Like, this is how people dress back then. Barbara Bush has actually got a very fashionable outfit on in this picture. for her.
But maybe that was like, she's slightly more conservative and buttoned up because the liberals were, buttoning down or whatever. Like they were.
Well, it was Hillary with the pantsuits, and it was all that kind of thing. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that was what the liberal analog was. I don't know. I mean, this again.
Long hair, though. Long hair with the new crowd.
The new crowd. Oh yeah, they all have long hair.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Oh yeah. For sure.
Yeah. Although I feel like everybody has long hair now. I mean, AOC. I mean, the funny thing is, like, they are kind of doing. Okay, where to start even here? So. The premise is that this new crop of right-wing women are sort of using their sexuality in this like strangely masculinized, but like sort of, but also appealing to male desire kind of way. And they're sort of having it both ways, which I think that the women would absolutely say is true. Of course, we're having it both ways. Look, women can do it all. You don't have to be like an ugly, frumpy, sexless shrew. We can be hot and tough and get the job done. And I think that they are embodying a certain male fantasy. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, they are.
Yeah. I feel like the thing that feminists like Rebecca, who are kind of from, I don't want to say a different generation, because how old is she? She's
younger than I am, so I think she's a young Gen Xer. She's Gen X, I guess.
Okay, she's Gen X, but like barely. So older millennial / young.
I don't know. She's solidly Gen X, probably.
I think that those kinds of feminists have a tough time grappling with how things have changed, and much of it because they were successful. They won the culture war. And, now it is the case that the counterculture, like to be a counterculture woman is not to be on the left, because that is what actually all women.
Yeah. It's women are normie. Right.
It's mainstream woman culture, young woman culture is to be on the left, is to be hyper progressive. There's a reason that in like the campus, like Insanities or whatever, like we're seeing women, like women are fully, embodying the progressive, spirit. And there is a gender, bifurcation going on with women who are becoming very, very much on the left. Men are becoming more on the right. So if you are a disagreeable woman, it is not, it is no longer the case that you are necessarily attracted to the left, because the left is mainstream.
Yeah, no, it's agreeable. It's it's very feminine culture. It's feminine. It's feminine. It's agreeable. It's compliant. It has empathy, kindness.
Yeah, it's no. I don't want to harm anyone. It's I don't want to harm people. I don't want to hurt people, and I should just sit down and listen. That's what.
Yeah, I don't want to have a confrontation. Well, I don't want to. I don't want to fight.
Yeah, that's what it's asking you to do, and what these Republican women are embodying is something very different. I think it is counterculture in the way that, mainstream feminists are not. And they have to, I feel like they're in denial, right? Like, I think Rebecca's in denial. I think women like her who kind of saw the end of a different kind of an era, and that's what they sort of grew up on, and those are the norms they internalize. They are not fully grappling with the fact that things have changed, and they have totally switched around. And that if you are a compliant woman, if you are a conformist woman, you're going into the progressive left. That's where you're going. Those are the politics that you're adopting. I don't think she's not fully thinking about what that means and how that trickles down into the rest of her, assumptions and like her political theorizing. And the fact that she doesn't makes, the conclusions that she reaches kind of, they're interesting, I guess, like as a thought experiment, but she doesn't really go anywhere with it because she's not fully recognizing where we are.
So much of the piece is animated by this transphobia stuff. Like, it's always coming back to these women are transphobic, and she gets into this idea that they're hyper feminine and that they like to wear pink, and that but she's kind of like makes an analogy to to camp and drag queens and like, oh, it's strange that they don't like drag queen story hour, but they're so hyper feminine. I mean, the fact is that like so many of the people pushing back against like trans overreach are liberals. I mean, most of them are arguably. I don't know. I mean, I don't. And again, like we are all in such bubbles that for you and me, it's impossible to imagine how somebody could have missed the memo that there are so many like enlightened liberal voting for Democrats in every other way. Women talking about the trans stuff in a pretty substantive, informed way. But I guess if you have an MSNBC on all day in the background, you wouldn't know that.
You have to ignore them. You have to pretend like they're not there. But this happened to me all the time when I was talking about the Islam stuff. Like, people would not listen to me. They don't want to listen to me because I'm, I would speak with compassion for Muslims. These are my parents. These are my family members, but I would want to talk about the issues in the religion, but they didn't want to speak to me. They wanted to speak to the person who's going to embody this like hateful, like xenophobic person who's, it looks usually like an older white woman or an older white guy. They didn't want me, and they didn't, you would think if they were really interested in the truth or they were really interested in the nuances of a debate that they would seek out people like me.
Yeah.
But they went out of their way to pretend like I wasn't there, and I experienced this over and over where I was in rooms where I was just like, I'm like, hello. And they don't want to talk to me. They want to talk to, Sam Harris and then call him a white supremacist for saying the exact same things I'm saying, but they pretend like I'm not sitting right next to him. It's, I experienced this over and over. And I think that TERF types are going through it now, and it's sad to see, but this is how the left has been operating for a very long time. And this is partially why I feel as if this is no longer the camp that is intellectually curious about anything or like wanting to really know the truth of like what's going on. And why it kind of leads to pieces like this that are, I think she's pointing to something real. Like she's recognizing and seeing something real, which is that these women are kind of masculine. They have this masculine energy, but she's not able to take that any further than her sort of standard, well, they're being hypocrites. Essentially, they're taking advantage of all these liberal norms. And
there's a lot of rhetorical questions in the piece. I mean, so here I'm just going to read from this paragraph. On the cusp of an election season that could further reshape this democracy and women's place within it, the questions facing the women of the American right are tricky. Are they supposed to be cutthroat or cute? Cold enough to kill a dog? That's a reference to Kristi Noem, which we discussed. Or warm enough to bake an apple pie? To whom is their devotion chiefly addressed? Country, husband, God, or Trump? And how might their womanhood complicate their responses to the closing of the obstetrics wards, or the fact that their party's leader was convicted of falsifying business records to cover up an extramarital affair with an adult film actress? The challenge of navigating these thorny questions have left many of them roaming from high-pitched rancor to contorted eroticism to the seemingly smug comforts of trad wife chic. The spectacle can provoke amusement, fury, and a frisson of horror movie unease. For if the women of today's Republican Party are upending gender conventions in an unprecedented fashion, they are doing it in service of a party that's never been more openly hostile to women and their rights. Okay, I have to go to a chiropractor of the mind just after reading these paragraphs, like the intellectual contortions that she's doing in order to like present this as a kind of coherent thesis. I totally get it because I have written these kinds of pieces before, and it's frustrating and it's difficult to do. I mean, it's sort of like a concept in search of examples. See, this is why podcasts are so great, is because we can actually just talk about these things and we don't have to write a whole article about it. It's really hard to write. It's really hard to write.
Like,
yeah. I mean, I think that this is the kind of piece that I would like try to write and then it wouldn't make sense. And luckily for me, nobody's waiting for me to file a piece to New York Magazine.
I think you do have to have somebody like Rebecca, she's very smart and she can pull it off in a way that I think some of the other.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the piece was considered successful. I mean, obviously, we're talking about it. I'm sure it was one of the most read pieces. It was a success, but it's true. Like, she's seeing the thing that we are all seeing. Yeah. And the thing is, like, we're sitting here on a podcast and we can kind of just shoot the shit about it, and we don't have to really have a coherent conclusion.
I mean, I think it is coherent, but it's not a conclusion.
It's just, no.
You know, we're not ending it. We're just continuing the conversation.
Right.
We're going to start it again next week.
I mean, yeah. Like,
that's part of it.
And also, like, so much of this has to do with Instagram and TikTok and influencers. So the second, the very, the top, she talks about Valentina Gomez, who is a 25-year-old who's, I believe she's running for Secretary of State in Missouri. Okay, so this is just like a shit poster. This woman, she's a child. She's 25 years old. She, does videos where she's holding a machine gun. She talks about things being weak and gay. I mean, she sounds like Razib.
Yeah,
everything is gay. Let's see. So
specific. Okay, she said, "Don't be weak and gay. Stay fucking hard."
Yeah. Okay. So the day before,
she knows what she's doing.
Yeah, the day before, she embraced her softer side, posting a photo of herself on X in a pale pink pantsuit and pumps, with a winning smile and her eyes cast heavenward, under a caption restating Blackburn's question, "What is a woman?" Okay, you know what? There are a lot of videos asking what is a woman, and they are being posted by people like Martina Navratilova as well. So
I just can't stand that question, because it liberals pretend like this is such a, like, what she is doing right there, which is making, like Valentina Gomez, which is making fun of the fact that they cannot answer a simple question with any kind of coherency. Rebecca's painting this as if she's, I don't know, being malicious or,
or being petty, being petty.
Yeah, or being petty.
Yeah.
Well, this is a very clear, this is a perfect example of how contorted and, anti-intellectual the left has become, and how captured they are by their activists, that they really can't answer this question. I mean, remember when it was, it was, we were talking about gender and not sex. We were never talking about biology. And so they would have been able to say, look, a woman is, somebody who believes they're a woman, but female is a, biological category, and male is a biological category. And those are different. They would have been able to answer that. That would have been the answer.
Yeah. Well,
6 years ago, that would have been.
Yeah. And also,
by them, but it's not the answer anymore, because they know now that they can't even say that.
Yeah. Well, Ketanji Brown Jackson knows what the answer is. Right. Exactly. She knows what the answer is.
Yeah, but she can't.
She can't. I think she could have, actually. I mean, that's the other thing, is they are so like beholden to their tiny little, like, echo chamber, that she doesn't even know that she could have given a totally straightforward answer, and it would have been a hit.
I don't think that she could have, though.
Really?
I don't think she could have. I think that could have been the case 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. I don't think it was the case when I think Ketanji Brown Jackson noticed that now we cannot talk about even biology. Like, we cannot talk about biological facts. Like, we're talking about, and she knew that there was danger there, and she knew enough to stay away. And that's what they're all learning by osmosis. Don't touch it. Don't touch this issue. So they'll do this crazy thing and say, I'm not a biologist. How can I know? What are you talking about? You go about your day every day, right? You refer to people as he, and then you refer to some people as she. And you don't ask all of them what their pronouns are. So how do you know?
Yeah, I know.
Like, how is she doing this every single day? It's unbelievable that she pretends like can't possibly say. But obviously, it's a what she's saying is, I'm a part of this kind of politics where I believe that it's important to take trans people seriously and to value them as, a political cohort. And if they are saying that this kind of language makes them uncomfortable, well, then I'm just going to do what.
But do you really think that, like, a Supreme Court Judiciary Committee would have dinged her for that. I mean, she
wasn't performing for them.
Yeah.
It wasn't about them.
I know.
It was about everybody else that was going to hear it.
But like,
it was about her friends.
I know, but ultimately she's trying to, I know, but she's trying to get onto the Supreme Court. Like, it's not like the people are voting directly. I know.
That's how and I think that this is why it's such a perfect thing to point at. And when conservatives sit there and say, look, they can't even say that, they're not saying you literally don't know science. They're saying these people are so beholden to their like social circles, like to their language games, that they cannot point to real like reality at material reality because it might hurt somebody. You know, it might hurt somebody's feelings. And they are so reliant on that view of the world, you know, harm above everything, emotional harm, and prioritizing emotional harm over material reality all the time. You know, that's what they're pointing at. That's what they're saying. Look, this is what these guys care about, not reality about their social games.
I feel like, so one thing this piece could have done is said, okay, look, this is what's happening on the left. What we have are women, you know, people, but like we're talking about women here specifically, in the center all the way to the right, that represent a spectrum of expressions for response in their response, right? So we've got like, you know, we've got people like, you know, centrist, moderate, normie Republicans, Nikki Haley, whoever else, I don't know.
Nikki Haley's kind of butch too, though.
Okay, well, we'll get back to this. Then I guess, hold on a second. We'll come back to that in a second. Okay, so we've got like normal Republicans, Condoleezza Rice, okay. And then if you kind of like move the dial, you're going to keep, you know, you turn the dial more and more and more to the right, it's going to get progressively crazier. And you've got Valentina Gomez at the end of the dial. But isn't this just like, you could do the same thing on the left? I mean, this is just a spectrum of expression and a spectrum of crazy.
Going is, it's stupid dial, though. It's not a more or less conservative. It's a more brand.
None of these people are conservative. But this doesn't have to do with conservative or liberal. It's like, it's just really sort of stupid. Yeah, it's stupid. It's how willing you are to be a troll. It's how you use social media.
Seriousness versus trolling.
Right. I mean, somebody could say that Valentina Gomez is just trying to do a far right AOC impression.
She sucks.
I mean, she's seeing what AOC does on social media and how good she is at it. And she's saying, oh, I can do that in my own way. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't really see.
There are a lot of those.
There's a lot. This doesn't have to do. Yeah, of course. I mean, we think this is fascinating, obviously, because we talk about this all the time. Like, what is it with the trad thing? And like, where's the intersection between the trad aesthetic and this kind of like, you know, like bikini girl with machine guns, you know, vibe. I mean, it's all mixed up. And there's a sexual connotation. There's an erotic charge to it. I mean, that's what maybe is different here. Like on the left, I think a lot of the signaling has been not so much overtly sexual, but it's been cool. You know, they don't need that because they have Hollywood. But I mean, it's fashionable. But it is. It's like you have all the celebrities.
Not anymore.
Oh, not anymore.
Maybe 10 years ago, but I don't think the left reads as cool to zoom.
Well, but I'm real. Okay. But I mean, it is like Hollywood actors are not going to be, you know, they are going to endorse the Democratic candidates. And it's
I just think it's changed a little bit.
Okay.
I think the coolness factor of Democrats have changed. I think there was a period where they were very cool. I remember seeing sort of the end of that in the Obama era, but I think that died down because they're really not. Trump did this, like post-Trump.
Yeah.
The derangement is kind of obvious. They're too serious to be cool. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like all the comedians. Why the comedians aren't funny anymore?
Okay. So maybe it's not cool, but it's sort of
not irreverent, which is why it can't be cool. You know what I mean? It's not, they take themselves way too seriously to be cool. So I think nobody really is cool anymore except for the people who are not very political.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. I mean, it does. I do think it's worth thinking about, like, why this kind of, I mean, you're saying that the Democrats are not intellectuals anymore. That may be, but certainly, like, the right wing is anti-intellectual. Like, not only not intellectual, but anti-intellectual performatively. But I also think it's genuine in most cases. They're not. These are not intelligent people.
The left is definitely performing intellectualism, and the right is performing anti-intellectualism for sure. And because that's the way that's the performance for both sides, it makes sense that true intellectuals would be more interested in the left anyway, because they're like, oh, they're signaling the way that I, want to be signaled to. And the kinds of things that Marjorie Taylor Greene does, the way she acts, her aesthetics, her way of speaking, it's so like hammy, like it's so trashy, it's so purposefully stupid that I think it turns off a lot of people who are genuinely smart. So there are repercussions for choosing the performance that you choose for any reason, like there are indirect effects of that. And the indirect effect of Marjorie Taylor Greene and this new woman, what's her name? Valentina
Gomez.
The effect of this woman is a bad one. She doesn't know it. I mean, she's just a grifter, right? She's just trying to take as much, interest and eyeballs and attention and hopefully take that into a career. But she is harmful to her own base for sure, because she's turning off people by being so obnoxious and like stupid and trolly.
Yeah.
I
know. And she's not, by the way, she's not white. I mean, she's Hispanic, and I'm detecting an accent. She's got an accent.
She's
I don't know.
Playing it up.
Put
on
playing up
the accent too.
She's playing. She was a swimmer. She was a college swimmer. I think she was went to Connecticut University in Connecticut. So I know it's not exactly.
It might not be a real accent.
I don't know,
but it's there. But it's there, and that's how she's authentic. But that's an interesting thing too that she's signaling. And I've always found why and when people choose to signal certain things, like with her, it's like, I am a Latina, but look at what I'm choosing to wear. I can't help the fact that I'm a Latina and that I, have this accent because English was not my first language. But look at what I'm choosing to wear. Look at the clothes that I'm choosing to put on. I am choosing to integrate. I'm choosing to be part of this great American culture. I think that's her message. But with the, Ilhan Omars of the world, it's like, it's like the kind of the opposite thing, where it's like, I'm choosing to be authentic, like but in touch with my like other roots and culture and stuff like that. I think it's interesting. I think there's a lot there, and it is, but to go back to the fact that I think her initial point, which is that there's something butch about these women. Okay, you don't want me to use that word.
Well, I just think butch to me just it connotes like stone butch lesbian. I mean, Nikki Haley is not. You think Nikki Haley is? Well, okay, so
online, I will say with my generation, whatever, younger people, like they'll use butch when it comes to men. Like it's no longer that deeply associated with being gay. It's just a term that means masculine.
Okay.
But I can just use masculine if that's
okay. Well, so who is not okay? But Nikki
Haley gives you that vibe, right? Like Nikki Haley gives you this, like, this is a kind of a masculine woman. It's like the Megyn Kelly vibe.
Is Megyn Kelly butch
vibe? You know what I'm talking about, though, right? Like, she's not soft.
Yeah, but what's the difference? I mean,
she's disagreeable,
right? But okay, so that's
Megyn Kelly is disagreeable, and you don't. Nikki Haley is disagreeable. You don't feel like
she's not disagreeable enough. I mean, Nikki Haley is a politician,
so she's but
well, I mean, but I part of it is just she's. I mean, I don't know, but like she wears, she dresses respectably. She's serious. Like I would say she's no nonsense.
But that's a lot. That's there's a mold for that too, and the similarity between Valentina Gomez and Megyn Kelly is that there is something there that is more masculine coded.
Right, but okay, so who would you say in politics anywhere on either side is not really masculine coded? I mean, you have to have those qualities even to want to run for office.
A lot of like the entire squad seems super hyper feminine.
You don't think AOC has some Butch qualities? No. I mean, these people are, well, I mean, what is the difference between, let's break this down. What is
ambitious.
What is the difference between what AOC is doing and what Valentina Gomez is doing? I mean, AOC knows her audience. She's talking a certain way. She's performing. She's walking down the street, filming herself, saying she's going to go get a manicure.
AOC is not hated by other women, but Valentina Gomez is.
How do you know that? I think I think right-wing women hate AOC.
All 5 of them.
What are you talking about?
There's not that many. We just talked about it. We just talked about there's a gender bifurcation of. That's happening in politics. Liberal women, like women are liberal. Women are liberal.
Oh, you're talking about women voters.
Women voters, right? Like, so you're in the party. You're appealing strongly to the party filled with women. You are speaking in the way that they want to see in their leader.
You think
I think Valentina Gomez is doing the opposite.
Okay, but
her audience is men.
You don't think that. Okay, but you don't think that right-wing women like her. You're saying that there aren't enough right-wing women for that to be even on the table.
That's not the audience. Her audience is
it's going to have to be her audience because she's
a few right-wing women, but I think it is men. She's appealing to men, which is why sexuality is there, and I think that Rebecca notices that she's using her sexual appeal. It's kind of like the Fox News women, right? Like they're all hyper feminine looking, but they're sitting there in a desk that's clear and they have beautiful legs, like,
well, the arms is the stuff that is the arms on Fox News. I mean, that's an absolute tyranny. I mean,
I don't know how they do that.
They don't get hired if they don't have good arms.
They're performing for men, regardless of, maybe there are women listening.
I think that their
audience that they picture, like the Fox News watcher, they're picturing a man. And they are performing for that man and they're sort of catering to what he finds appealing. I think there's this idea that like a machine gun on a woman is this like, whoa, crazy. Like, but you know what, Lara Croft, like Tomb Raider?
Yes.
That series, like that was a guy thing. Like guys wanted that. Guys wanted to see that because they like guns. They like action. They like playing a video game that has all those elements, but they want to look at a woman. They want to look at a beautiful woman. And so you got that, that mashup, and you got Lara Croft, and she is a creation of the male mind, and she is performing for a male audience. That's what she is. And I kind of feel like that I see shadows of that throughout the Republican set. And it's not a mashup. It's not discordant the way Rebecca thinks that it is. I don't think it is.
No, it's not discordant. No, it's very coherent, actually. The phenomenon is fairly legible, but I wonder if it's possible to even understand it if you don't like listen to certain podcasts and read certain Substacks and think about certain things. I wonder if it's possible to grasp this at all if you are only consuming mainstream media. I'm not saying that Rebecca's only consuming mainstream media. I'm sure she consumes all kinds of things, but it's so,
like Valentina's sitting there, like people like her, they go there, I'm shooting guns, like that's their
and Valentina is not listening to this podcast. I mean, Valentina is not consuming anything either. Like, I mean, nobody, these are not deep people.
But okay, so Valentina's shooting a gun in her TikTok videos or whatever. People like her, they're shooting guns, they're at a range or killing a dog, like assassinating a dog live on TikTok, to make a point. But AOC is she's chopping up veggies,
right. She's being trad.
She's actually being very trad. She's being relatable. She's like, I am like you. I am like you, every woman. You and me, we're the same. You're sitting there chopping up some veggies. I'm chopping up some veggies, but Valentina's not saying that. She's giving a very masculine.
Yeah, she's aspirational.
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just male code. She's not even thinking about being aspirational to other women. It's just, it's for men entirely. The audience is male. The audience she sees is male. She's appealing to their masculine senses in every way that she can, in a way only a beautiful woman can, actually. Only a beautiful woman with a machine gun can embody this kind of character, you know? I mean, that.
So can she get elected with only the male vote?
I don't think so. I mean, I hope not. God, she's so.
I mean,
it's just. Ugh.
I mean, I'm interested in like why women. I mean, how are women feeling about this? Like, are they looking at someone like her, or I don't know what would be a better example. I mean, and saying like, oh, I get this, I relate to this. I mean, when Sarah Palin came along, certainly women on the left hated her, but I knew a lot of women on the right that were like, she is awesome. Like, I have never seen anybody like this that is so cool. Like, finally, I feel seen, but my unconscious goals feel like, that they have been excavated and brought to the surface. Cause I realize I can be like a mom but also, I can also have guns, and I can also live on the frontier, and I can have a hot husband who, I mean, and Rebecca talks about this in the piece. I mean, Sarah Palin's hot husband, he left his job on the oil rig to be a stay-at-home dad.
On the oil rig. Ugh,
and I mean, that was pretty aspirational. I mean, they were a good-looking family. And she had it all together. I mean, she had the baby in the governor's office when she was, supposedly working there.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Like I can do it, like right, and I can do everything. I'm not going to complain.
Why don't you? Yeah.
Why can't you do this?
Don't make excuses.
Right.
Yeah, stop making excuses. Whereas I think on the left, it's like it really is the opposite, where it's like, here are my struggles. Like,
no, I think
me as a congresswoman tell you all about my struggles.
And I think
my mental health. Like, and here's what I've been going through.
Right. And I think a lot of women are tired of the victim thing, and they want a role model who's going to say, hey, you don't have to be a victim. In fact, look at all this you can do. It's very, very, it's very aspirational.
Yeah, it's aspirational.
And but if somebody could get this right, I mean, that's the thing.
Comey Barrett, right? Like,
yes. Okay. Now do you think she's Butch?
I think so here's my other theory, which is not exactly the same, but I think it is like operating in the same universe and kind of touching, like affecting these things a little bit. I think if you are a woman who, like, in the modern culture, not in the culture 50 years ago, 30 years ago, but today, if you are a kind of a masculine woman, like you like to play video games, you're kind of, your socialization is kind of masculine, you're like pragmatic, you don't do small talk, whatever, like all these little things. But in a social sense, if you are somebody who approaches the world in the way that a man approaches, you are kind of left in a weird pickle, because on the one hand, if you are, and this is specific, I'm specifically talking about straight women who are like this. If you're a straight woman and you're a little bit masculine, you are attracted to men, you want to be attractive to men, but your natural like inclinations would also lead to a kind of, like embodiment at the very least, like your physical embodiment that would not be attractive to a man. So what do? You grow out your hair and you do the makeup and you do the things that you think men want you to do, and you just apply it.
This is totally hypothetical. Where's this coming from, Sarah? This is a hypothetical example. You're very close to the subject.
And, it was very. I was thinking about it a lot with this after the short hair conversation, which was just that I do think there's something about the right wing woman's way of approaching physical beauty that they're just like, okay, men like that, I'm gonna do that. Okay, long hair, sure, great, that's what I'm gonna do. And I think there's something about that is the only really tact left for that kind of woman. I think about it in the same way, like I had a gay friend, somebody he was closeted all throughout high school, and then in college, we didn't go to the same college, but in college he came out. I met up with him when we were both back home at the same time, and I could barely recognize him. He was so hot all of a sudden. Like he was so jacked, like so
because he'd come out because people always look amazing when they come out because they're like unburdened and they've got a whole new lane.
It wasn't that. It wasn't like psychological. Yeah, it was literally his arms were huge, you know, and like his jaw looked more chiseled because he was going to the gym all the time and like taking care of his skin and taking care of his hair.
Okay,
and he was like he suddenly went from being like a weird looking dude to like a masculine
because he wants to attract men.
Because he wants to attract men, you know, and he's fully accepted that now. He's like, I want to attract men, and what do gay men want? They want me to look like this, so I'm going to do that, you know. And then he just does it, and it's not necessarily what he in his own inherent sense wants to be, you know. Like he is a little feminine and he might want to be pretty or whatever, but he knows that that's not what guys want, and so he's not going to do it. So there's something about that I relate to that experience. Like when he told me, but when we talked about this, like he's like, this is what, you know, I got to look like this. And now I'm going to the gym. It actually makes me feel better anyway. So it's great, whatever. But I think there's something to that.
Yeah, there is.
Kind of a similar experience.
I feel okay. I always think guys always liked me, even if I had short hair. I never really thought about it. I just never thought of, I'm not just saying this. I'm trying to think like, why didn't I don't remember ever dressing in a way in order specifically to attract men. It was sort of like, oh, this is my kind of look. This looks like me. Mm-hmm. Now this looks like myself. And it worked fine.
I think a lot of women are just like, it's a dress is like an expression thing. And this is the signal that I want to give to the world about who I am. But men don't necessarily approach their dress in that way. And I think more masculine women don't approach their dress in that way. They approach it like instrumentally. Where is it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what do I want? Goal first. What do I want? And then
so it's rational. Maybe the word is not masculine, but sort of rationalist.
Sure. Okay. Goal oriented. Yeah, maybe goal oriented.
I had no goals. I was not goal oriented.
Yeah, right. It's just expression and wherever that takes me versus where do I want to be and then how do I get there with my dress.
I mean, because I have asked myself this. I think I may have even written a column about this years and years ago. I don't remember what I said, but something like, why do Republican women, why are they hotter? Like, why was Michelle Bachmann? She looked a certain way. They want to be. But Michelle Bachmann is married to not exactly the most masculine guy. Let's just put it that way.
All women want to be, but some women are more open to, like, more, I think, upfront about it to themselves, you know, and accepting of that desire because in their political context, it's okay to accept it.
Yeah, although I mean,
to be a lefty woman and to say I want to attract men and that's why I grow out my hair, that's blasphemy.
Well, they just keep it to themselves.
You're saying they might say that to themselves, but I think they're admitting to it is like admitting to being an idiot. It's like admitting to being a tool, you know, used by guys. Like that's all you want to be, you know, like that. It's stupid, I think. And I think you wouldn't want to say that if you're a young liberal woman, especially to your other female friends. Like you wouldn't really want to say that.
I don't know.
You want to say I'm doing it for myself,
or they say
I'm doing it. I did it for me.
Right. I'm doing it for my career. I'm doing it because I want to be taken seriously. Well, I mean, that's always the thing. Like, right? All these women, all these feminist authors, all the, you know, in the feminist media sphere, they write these super feminist books and then they have to go out and promote them. So they like go to the gym and get all hot so they can look good on book tour and look good on TV. I mean, this is the problem. We live in a visual culture. You have to be hot in order to succeed at all. I mean, this is the problem, is that you, in order to like succeed on a high level, especially in media, if you're in the public sphere, you have to be really articulate. You have to have accomplishments and credentials. And on top of everything else, you have to look good. And I think that's true for men as well. Maybe not as true, but it's definitely true for everybody. It's just a fact. No matter how egg-headed or intellectual or qualified you are, you're going to spend a certain amount of time and money on your appearance. And if you don't do it, then you're not taking your career seriously. And it sucks, but that's just a fact. You know,
I mean, especially given how visual we are now.
Yeah.
Given the fact that everybody has access to the camera and needs to be like, even if it is a podcast like this, you still have to
bad enough. You know what we go through for this. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's why I hate when they're, people are like, oh, you're so shallow. You got Botox or something. It's like, well, really? If this person, not me, I don't get Botox. Are you kidding? But,
no, who says that?
I hear this all the time. I hear this from women sort of judging other, well, because the thing is, I don't think or men, or, here's the other thing is men go, oh, I don't like women that wear makeup. I don't like women that have a lot of, that get, Botox or anything. It's like, well, you don't know what you don't know what they're doing.
They just want, they say,
no, they want you to look natural.
I want to really brag about having a natural beauty girlfriend.
Right.
And so you need to make it not that obvious so that I can have this like extra, like super perk of having, that's like the extra trophy wife. There's a regular trophy wife who's like making an effort to be hot. Like
you don't want that. No.
Correspondent, Ivanka Trump kind of thing. Or you want to be, but what you want is like Gwyneth Paltrow, like, just yogaing your way into beauty all the time.
Right. Okay. I know, so I had a friend who had talked about, so she's a little older than me. So when in like the 70s, it was cool to like not shave your legs, like, hippie girl, but she had dark hair. So she would like dye her leg hair blonde in order to not shave her legs.
Oh my God, that is so much work. Oh my God. But women do this all the time. Like there's this like going out of your way to do. I remember one time seeing one of my cousins get ready, and she doesn't do makeup the way I do. I do it the stupid Republican woman way. Okay. But
what's that?
Which is just like, I have eyeliner on. You can tell because it looks like it.
Oh, you mean you're not trying to hide the fact that you have
I'm not trying to hide the fact that I'm wearing makeup. Right. But we were getting ready to go out once, and it took her it takes me like 10 minutes, maybe to do like full face.
Oh,
it takes her
me 2 minutes.
Like an hour. Took her like an hour.
Really?
She needs to do like a very natural, glowy, like glow skin. So you have like a routine, and then you do these like potions and lotions and like all kinds of stuff, and it's layered and has to be done in a very specific way, and it took her forever. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, this is so
I don't have the patience for that.
I don't have the time.
It takes me 2 minutes. Okay, yeah, we're gonna move on. We're gonna talk about Trump is making the podcast rounds. I don't know why he's not answering my calls.
Yeah.
He appeared on the All In podcast, which I'm not a regular listener of.
I'm not either.
But it was kind of remarkable.
It was really remarkable, actually. So All In podcast, for those who haven't heard it before, it's been going on for, I think, over a year now, longer maybe. They don't have that many episodes, like 200-ish, but it's for VCs. I think they're all VCs or VC types, but people in the tech industry, and they talk about a lot of tech related stuff, obviously, and like news that's happening, but they'll sometimes go out into politics as well, and like economics and that kind of thing, business related. So it's a pretty interesting podcast for those who are interested in that kind of stuff. They're not exactly experts, they're practitioners, which is different. I often find that like podcasts in which you have like a professor at Tufts talking about business versus an actual founder of company talking about business. They're two different podcasts. Their approaches are different. They sound different. One is so much more theoretical, and which is appealing to one part of my brain. But the other guy is probably much more useful if we're going to talk about
literally. No, and there's got a bunch of hosts on this podcast.
Yeah, there's 4, maybe 5.
Yeah. Okay.
And two of them are like, so David Sachs is Republican, like has been a conservative,
and is a donor to the Trump, a big Trump donor, we should say. Yeah,
Trump donor now. Chamath, Chamath, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he is a former, I think, lefty, now supports Trump. Interesting. Then there's Jason Calacanis. I'm so bad at pronunciations. Why am I even trying? But he was kind of anti-Trump guy. Same with David Friedberg, who's also anti-Trump. So it was interesting to see all of them talk to the president. It's an incredible get to have the literal president. I guess it helps to have a Trump donor. David Sachs is, I think, more recently, like he threw a fundraiser for Donald Trump. And I think that might have been like where they managed to land this. And Trump got a lot of big donations, including from a big donation from the
Winklevoss twins.
Like those guys, those Facebook guys.
Yeah, so the Winklevoss twins were the guys that ostensibly had the idea for Facebook that Mark Zuckerberg stole. Is that right? Yeah. And they were rowers. Were they at Harvard? I guess so.
Yeah,
they're identical twins, very, very strapping and tall, and they were rowers. And the idea was that it was actually their idea. So they have resurfaced. They're back in the conversation now as Trump donors.
Yeah. So they're it's interesting to see. I mean, this is a big podcast in the tech industry. Like it is. I mean, I don't know if it's like the most listened. I don't know about the actual numbers of it, but I just know that it is huge. These guys are well known, and for them to have President Trump on was in itself kind of a indicator of a vibe shift. I mean,
he does do other podcasts though, doesn't he? I mean, he does kind of stupid. Doesn't he do other?
Does he?
I think he's done kind of garbagey.
I don't think he has. I mean,
really?
Hold on. We can just check.
I don't know. He's done the is this right? The Dan Bongino show.
Okay.
He's done the Brian Kilmeade show. Joe Pags, Sean Hannity, obviously.
Is this before?
No, this is now.
Or?
No, this is 2024, 2023. He does show up. But yeah, I mean, this was
Dr. Phil.
Apparently so.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I was skeptical about this. You told me you had seen it. I did sit down and watch it last night. I gotta say, dude can string a sentence or two together, and he lapses. I mean, what would you say? I would say it was like 30% cringe, maybe 40, but like 60%. Guy has some ideas.
If that wasn't Donald Trump, like if I didn't know anything about him, if I didn't know anything about like what a crook he was, like if his voice was disguised and it was a silhouette and it could be anybody talking, yes, then it wouldn't have been. I think that if I wouldn't have reacted terribly to it had I not known a lot more about him. Just on the face of it, it wasn't a bad performance. He was sharp. Okay. He was there. He was, and I'm sorry, but this is not the case with Biden.
No, he was sharp. He was relaxed.
He was answering all the questions. I mean, in the stupid circular way that.
Yeah, and he had to tell you that if every single thing that's wrong with the country now, if he were president, it would not have happened. I mean,
when I was president, we fixed it all.
The cons, the circling back. I mean, the narcissistic, like circling back to his own accomplishments is like absolutely cringe. But I was listening to it and I'm thinking like, this is the kind of stuff that the liberals cannot filter out. And his supporters just really can for some reason. They're willing to just not hear it. And I mean, the thing is, I mean, he did, let's just say, so there were some interesting takeaways from this conversation. I mean, maybe most notably is that he says he would not support a national abortion ban. That his whole thing is
about it, actually.
I mean, that he thought, it should go to the states. That was always what he thought should happen. Let's see. He thinks there should be a reciprocal trade act. Let's see. not gonna
he's okay with nuclear.
Not sending American troops to Ukraine.
He seemed to know something about nuclear, which is so impressive to me on the face of it, because I am also concerned about how much energy we're going to need for AI to really be something that we're, leading on. And he was right to point that out. He was right to make a note of it. And, I think it was a good thing that he went and had that fundraising dinner at David Sack's house, because clearly he didn't know about this before, and now he does, and that's a good thing as far as I'm concerned.
And immigration. Immigration. Sorry. Right. So this was actually huge, is that he said, what I want to do and what I will do is, when you graduate from a college, I think you should get automatically, as part of your diploma, a green card to be able to stay in this country.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, we should say that his campaign kind of walked that back the next day. So his press secretary said that there would be an aggressive vetting process that would exclude all communists, radical Islamists, Hamas supporters, America haters, and public charges. And the policy would apply only to most skilled. The policy would apply only to the most skilled graduates who could make significant contributions to America. So no haters. I don't know how they're going to screen those out. But okay. So here's the thing with this interview. I was surprised by it, and I was, despite myself, sort of impressed. At the same time, he doesn't know what he's saying. He could change his mind on a dime. It's like he's saying what is convenient in that moment, what these guys want to hear. He's flattered. They're flattering him. He's performing.
He does mean it. I think he does mean it at the second that he says it, but it's just, he didn't think about, you know what I mean? Like he doesn't have a fully prepared answer. He had the answer that he liked. Somebody on his staff came up with it that he was like, that's a great answer. I like that. I believe in that. And we're going to say it. And he did mean it in that moment. But then, now...
I mean, it's not how he talks at a rally. I mean, he gives the people what they want. So this audience, he's giving them what they want. He would never say these things at a rally.
Of course. Yeah, right. And I think he is a performer, right? Like, he understands, all politicians are to some degree, but Donald Trump more than most, for sure, because he can really ham it up. He can really put on that rally Trump persona. And it's, are people able to put that persona aside and then listen to this interview and feel good about him? I think actually a lot of people are. It's not going to be most liberals. It's not going to be maybe any.
They were talking about it. I know. Well,
nobody in our set, but if you saw the comments, they didn't seem like idiot MAGA, like.
No, they were talking about it in the Unspeakeasy online community. Actually, there was a very long thread. The women were like, one of them was like, wow, I can't believe I'm posting about Trump. But what do you guys think about this? And it was fascinating, really intelligent discussion about it. But
I don't think the conversation was so. I thought that, unlike most conversations that I've seen with Trump, which have been like, at MSNBC, like a 12-minute interview or 5-minute interview or whatever, it was super short, kind of combative, clips taken out of it. This was different. This was a long conversation. It was not edited. It felt like a conversation, kind of felt like a true interview. I appreciated that. I haven't seen anything like that from Biden recently. I'm unlikely to, and I think it's a loss for us, because I think we want to see the kind of man that we're voting for, not the specific policies necessarily, but to get a general vibe of what kind of person he is, what does he prioritize. And I think that people felt that they did get that in that interview with Trump. I don't love the way he talks. He is a circular kind of talker. It's irritating. I had to listen to it twice because there's kind of post-game analysis with the all-in guys where they were like, oh, but he did confirm this about the federal, and I was like, wait, what? And I had missed it because he's such a he's just going around and around, and people said this about me, but it was the greatest thing. It was such a great thing that I did here, and then blah blah blah. And then he goes around. So hard to parse what he actually just said. Having said that, when called for, he was able to do that. And an example of that was his answer to the Roe v. Wade question, where he asked him, he was asked will you support a federal ban on abortion? And he started off with this long thing about states' rights and how it's great, and some states doing it, and some states bad, and you're going to be great, and some is going to be, you know, that's what people want. That's what the people want. That's what I want. I think it's great. You know, like this. Okay. And then
it's terrific. It's terrific. If they want to do that in Alabama, I think it's terrific.
It's terrific. And, you know, New York, we're going to do something else, and that's fine. And, you know, so he did, but then he was asked again, the interviewer asked him again, so will you support it? Like, will you support a federal ban on abortion? He said, no, I will not.
No.
Or something to that effect. And he directly stated it. And I appreciated that.
I mean, if he means that, but I just worry he's going to get in office and then his goons are going to strong arm into, his base is going to flatter him into doing something.
I think he means it.
Like
and
that.
I think that he's going to, because his base is not religious people. They're not.
No, but they don't care. But they want to own the libs. His base wants to own the libs, and nothing owns the libs more than abortion bans.
I think he could never do it, even if he could never muster the political will to pass something like that. He can only not. Can he do an executive order for something like that? I don't know. I can't believe that he would. You know, he's from New York. He's not gonna. That's not his. He's paid for a lot of abortions.
I mean, and he did say also. I think notably, he made very clear. He's like, I have always been in support of, like, you know, the three exceptions: rape, incest, life of the mother, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't think he's a tech.
I don't. He's not. He's not an ideologue, as we've said. He's a malignant narcissist, blowhard.
I think the states' rights thing is a smart tact. I think that would also appease most of his voters, because the really conservative ones, they live in conservative states and they are they're happy to say, okay, ban everything, ban all abortion, including the life of the mother. You know, like
see how long that lasts, but okay. Not funny. Yeah.
Okay. So I liked. He also said that he was going to take 50% of the federal funding, of the Department of Education and give it to the states. And I thought, you know, I didn't hate it. I didn't hate the idea. It was a new I've never heard of that. I don't even know how huge the budget even is of the Department of Education. I imagine it's quite small, but it struck me as the kind of policy that to the average person doesn't sound bad. You know, like, okay, like, what is the federal government doing? Like, let's just give it to the states and let them experiment and figure out what works.
They're going to kill it. Yeah. The states. I'm saying the state. No, what I mean, the states are so they're going to kill it in the space. I mean, they're going to be amazing with their education.
Well, he said specifically, some will do badly, some will do, some won't.
That's true. It is. It's like a Shark Tank, right? Exactly. It's like a game.
To the average person, they're like, okay, great. You know, like people will be like, we, the people have, more control over what happens in our state. And so we have more control over what works for education. And I think the average normie person likes that answer, but the progressive person will not like it because it is anti-equity, like by default, especially that line, some will do badly, some will do great, like some will lose. There are some losers in this game. There are some winners, but because we want winners, we're okay. We'll tolerate losers. And that's not how progressives think. They are not willing to tolerate losers. So in fact, they also don't get winners.
Yeah.
I think that was, he sort of expanded that across some other departments where he was just gonna give it all to the states. He's gonna give it all to the states. What do you think about that? Do you have any kind of thoughts?
The states? I mean, we've been talking about this. I don't know. I tread lightly here, but the more time that goes on, I tend to think that there's something there. I mean, this is the kind of thing that will get me, banned from all socializing in my blue state for the rest of my life. But, I don't know if there's a reason that this is a republic, right? There's a reason that this is a federalist. This is there's a reason that the country was set up this way. Cultures are different. People have different values in different places, and the fact is, they can move. I don't want to.
No, not the poor. But you're talking
poor people. Can they? I mean, I know. I don't want to diminish this, and I know.
You cannot have national policy based on like a small segment of
no,
you can.
Exactly. And I think that we have to stop being naive about what people really want and what hill they're going to die on. If women in Alabama are really, really having their lives severely compromised generation after generation because they can't get access to abortion, they would vote their way out of that. And maybe they will.
Yeah.
But the fact is that they haven't had very good access to abortion in these places anyway. I mean, just because technically it was legal doesn't mean it was easy for them to get to the one clinic in the state that had it. I think that
but they can't, in that context, they couldn't blame the state policy or the state's approach because there was this federal policy. And I think that what we have now is an ability to truly see what are the effects of this thing, and for people to really recognize that. And so I think social policy will actually move.
As we discussed. I think that Dobbs, I think you're right. I think that Dobbs in the end is going to be sort of a necessary evil to get us to a better place. And again, that's one of these things that the liberals, they love to wave around. But in a post-Dobbs world, democracy is on the ballot. In a post-Dobbs world, how can women like pander to the patriarchy? It's like, well, the post-Dobbs world is this is going to be it's a really important kind of laboratory right now.
But I think that's actually it is a wonderful thing about the United States that we have this states, we have 50 states, we have 50 different avenues for exploring policy,
bad ways to do things.
Bad ways to do things, good ways to do things. I mean, wasn't the Obamacare initially based a little bit on
Massachusetts that Mitt Romney, a Republican, instituted.
Right. I mean, so it's, in his state, he is a Republican, and nowhere else everywhere else he's a liberal, but there he's a Republican. And I think, that was a great thing. It was a great thing that they were able to sort of trial it out. Like, how does this work actually? How is it actually implemented? Can we, should other states adopt it, and to what degree? I think it's a great way of exploring different policy solutions to things without incurring the huge costs that you would if you had a federal mandate or, some kind of a federal legal restriction or, prohibition of something. It's a great thing about the United States that we have this kind of, legislative trial, this experimentation.
Yes, little petri dish of
right. We have the ability to do that, and this should be used as a way to make things better. I don't know what the problem is. What the problem is, actually, I do know. It's that it's not equitable. That it means that there will be losers.
Yeah, that people are going to suffer. There's going to be collateral damage. Yeah. There are no solutions, only trade-offs.
Exactly. But that's a very conservative.
That's Thomas
is a
Sowell.
Very conservative thing to say.
Well, yes.
That right.
And a black man said it.
Yeah.
So
well, but that doesn't count. He's not black. You know that. Not officially.
He's lowercase black.
Trump is again gaining on with BIPOC people.
Oh, 100%.
Is just
which again, I feel like Rebecca did not acknowledge in her piece at all. A lot of the women, I mean, men certainly, BIPOC men, but women as well. It's never as simple as what the narrative would dictate. Nothing is simple. Nothing will fit into a think piece. A think piece, by definition,
it has
is
to fit
limited.
It has to be a podcast, an ongoing podcast,
with no fact checking, no time constraints, no production values to worry about, bog you down with lights and mics, functioning mics. There's got to be banging. I don't trust anything anybody says unless there's banging coming from upstairs. Yeah. There's got to be somebody's child, or there's got to be a neighbor using a circular saw, which, otherwise, I don't trust you. All right. Well, we had more to cover, but maybe we should save it to the next time.
Too long about
we did. I think that there was a lot to say there.
Yeah. But I wish what they had covered in the Trump interview was January 6th. like, I wish they had talked to him a little bit about.
In the All In. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
they were.
Like, what are you going to do if you don't get it, if you don't win? What are you going to do? And I think that they weren't going to pose him that question.
Well, they were acting like it was a given that he was going to win. There were several moments where they said, like, well, obviously, sir, it looks like you're going to be.
Yeah. So that might be the case.
Yeah.
You know, but I do want to know that as a voter. Like, I want to know, are you going to respect the process? And but I actually do know the answer as well. He's not going to.
He's going to say, well, it won't be fair. It won't be fair. So
if I don't win, it won't be fair. And if I do win, then it is fair. Like, those are the rules he's operating on. And we already know this. We don't even need the answer. And I did appreciate a lot of their questions, though. There were answers to things that I did not even know to ask. And I wouldn't have thought that Trump had such in-depth knowledge about.
I was surprised. And he actually seemed interested in the issues.
He was speaking off the cuff sometimes. Like, they would give him,
I know.
They would push back and he would know what, and I was like, he's not going to know the answer to this because the original question was just fed to him. Like, the answer was just fed to him and he's not going to be able to answer, but then he was.
I mean, I don't know if I was not fact checking in real time. I don't know how much of it was accurate, but the fact is that he was actually engaged. Like, he had ideas about nuclear. He had ideas about stuff going on, foreign policy and wars and foreign leaders. And I mean, maybe it's wrong. But like, he wasn't just pontificating.
Right.
He was engaged with the subject matter. And I mean, maybe he has had more time over the last 10 years, 8 years to think about this stuff. I mean, he's brush up.
Well, I think that a lot of this is Jared Kushner operating in the background when it comes to the foreign policy stuff, because he was basically like gave it to Jared. And I think Jared is an intelligent person. Like, I don't think he's a genius, but I don't think he's this malevolent kind of creature.
No, he's as intelligent as any B-level podcaster. So
exactly, which is just
above average,
as we know. But so I think that that's what's coming through, is that they were doing some of their homework and it's coming through, and we like seeing that, because we've been seeing so much. While it is true that if Hillary Clinton was put on the same table and she was able to speak her mind, I think she would say more intelligent.
Oh, she would run circles around him,
but she would not speak her mind. That's
right.
The truth is that if Hillary Clinton had a camera in front of her face, she would say what she thinks she wants.
I know.
You want her to
that was
say,
what's always so heartbreaking about her.
And you would come out of it hating her and thinking, you're lying to me. You're not telling the full truth or something, or you're
well, that's true of all politicians. That's why we hate them.
But Trump didn't give off that.
Well, because he's not. I mean, he is a politician, but he's sort of not. I mean, right. Yeah, this is another, I feel like I want to talk at some point about Condoleezza Rice, because she's another one. There was an interview with her making the rounds the other day, and people were saying, oh my gosh, why can't she run? Yeah. I mean, we forget she's also a war criminal, but like, that was, that's in the past.
As the Bush administration.
That is, what was that?
What a cute.
I know.
The Bushes.
That was just a warm.
Michelle Obama. It's like,
exactly. Feel good.
So many people died.
So much more destructive than the Trump administration, exponentially.
Magnitude more destructive than any.
But Condoleezza Rice, is a smart lady, and she's a
smart lady, of course.
She was on 30 Rock, playing the piano too. She's got it all, smart. And she's got plenty of reasons not to run. Okay, all right. Well, we should wrap it up. Next time we're gonna cover the stuff that we thought we were going to cover.
Okay.
Today. All right. But, please rate and review. Please join our Substack community. Leave comments. What else?
Yeah, do it all. But please. Don't, and I look at me not touching my hair. I even put it up for you guys. So I hope I don't get it.
You're really sensitive about that.
Look at me. I'm being every episode, Megan. I get, because I monitor the comments.
I never look at the comment. Why are you doing that to yourself?
I'm publishing the episodes.
You could do that without looking at the comments. Oh, but please.
They'll be like top comments, or like new comments, and you see it. You have to see some of them on the
there's
YouTube
a limit
studio. What, like, okay, well, because I do that, I have to see some of them. And there's always something about, me touching my hair and why am I doing it? And please stop. It's like, okay, well, I put it up and now it's not being touched.
You should just put like something gross and sticky on your hands during the course of the recording, so you don't put like jam on your fingers, and so you're not going to touch your hair.
What were those things that you used to squeeze all the time when you had like anxiety?
Oh, like a stress ball, squeeze ball thing.
Yeah, I'm going to get something like that maybe, and that'll be like the thing that I do with my hands.
That'd be a good merch item for us. A special place.
It could be
stress.
Could be something like obnoxious where you squeeze it and like it looks absurd,
makes a horrible sound. Makes the sound of a woman screaming. Of a woman being assaulted.
Oh God, Megan.
Sorry. No, it's the sound of a peacock. It's a peacock. That's all.
All right.
Okay. All right, everyone. See you next time. Bye. You have reached the end of the episode, which probably means you like our content. Why don't you join our Substack right now? You can become a paying subscriber at a specialplace.substack.com. You can join our listener community, leave comments, interact with everybody. We'll see you in there. It is totally worth it. So please join us, a specialplace.substack.com. And thanks for listening.